Hello, and welcome to another episode of Change Starts With You. I am Deborah Lawson, Director of Development at United Way Emerald Coast. Today, I have with me a very dear friend and special guest, Sean Devlin. Sean Devlin owns Sean Devlin Home and Design. So, Sean, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Sean Devlin. I own Sean Devlin Home and Design. I own a full-service interior design firm here based on the Emerald Coast. And I've always had a passion for creating beautiful spaces for people that are functional but yet timeless.
I totally see that, especially after looking at your social media. I'm just like, oh, of course Sean did that. It's perfect. It's wonderful. It is just so. I'm not saying that because we're on a podcast. I would say this if we weren't recording this conversation, but yeah, your style, it is just timeless
Thank you.
and easy to live in. It's not something that you look at and think, oh, I wouldn't be able to live there. It's accessible but elevated.
Yes. And I try to make an impact with the clients that I have and who I'm designing for because they're going to enjoy these homes and spaces for years to come with, not just themselves, but their families and their extended families and their friends. So
Yeah.
trying to keep that in mind when I'm designing.
Absolutely. I love that you think of the future and how your legacy just kind of spreads out a little bit. And actually, so talking about legacy, so you were named the Walton Area Chamber Young Professional of the Year, which is super exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you expect that at all?
I did not expect it. I was up against several really great young professionals in the Walton County area. So it was a nice surprise to be honored by the county and the chamber like that. So
Absolutely.
it was definitely appreciated and honored.
For sure. And so you're on the committee for the Walton Area Chamber Young Professionals group.
I am with you.
Yes, with me. I've done so much. So what made you want to get involved with young professionals and with the chamber?
I think with the chamber and young professionals in particular, I noticed that there was kind of a need for that networking. And I know previously the chamber had the young professionals group and it kind of faded away, especially with COVID. And I had went to one of the Destin young professional networking like after hours meetings. And it was my first time ever doing that by myself, didn't know anybody. And by the time I left there, I said, oh my goodness, this is what we need in Walton County. The welcoming, the people I connected with, the way I felt inspired, and I'm ready to do, greater things with my business in the community. So as soon as I went to that Destin Young Professionals group, I said, I need to take this and bring it over to Walton County, which is where I live, and, regrow this group and see how I can get involved.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to go to a networking event like that by yourself. It can be very weird and awkward and difficult. So kudos to you for actually doing it and then leaving, having met new people. You actually stepped outside of your comfort zone and made some contacts. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. So Sean is actually, on top of all of those amazing accomplishments, Sean is in our Project Lead Class 2, another thing that we're doing together. Sean and I met our very first class on January 30th. And like I told you this weekend, as soon as we had our first conversation, I left and I'm like, oh, Sean Devlin's a friend. It is what it is. And so we're thrilled to have you in that class. So what made you learn about United Way and why did you apply for Project Lead?
So initially I learned about Project Lead through the Walton Area Chamber. And I had a friend that was in a previous Project Lead class, and I spoke with him, and he said, the amount of growth, not just personally, but professionally, that you can achieve from taking this class is really next level. And as soon as I saw, the advertisement, I would call it, for Project Lead, I said, this is something that definitely sparks my interest, serving on a nonprofit and just learning more about nonprofits and what really goes into making them happen.
That's awesome. Shout out to your friend that recommended it. I think I know who it was. We won't drop that name just yet. I'm pretty sure I know who it was. That's amazing. And so, our very first class, we actually had Dr. Joyce Gilligossam from Best Girl, and she really did a great job of just kind of breaking down those walls that we had put all around ourselves. And I mean, I'm a pretty open person and don't really have any problems sharing a lot of things about myself, but I know that that's difficult for other people, but I think that the way that she just kind of came in was just so warm and welcoming and friendly. It made every person in that room share something about themselves that we probably wouldn't have if she hadn't been there. And I think that that definitely speaks to the personal changes that you're going to make, but also the relationships that we create together. When you open up yourself and allow yourself to be vulnerable, it gives you that opportunity to really create a strong bond with someone that you probably wouldn't have done before.
Absolutely.
And I told her at an event, I said, "You put a spell on everybody." And she said, "No, I didn't." Yes, yes, ma'am, I think you did, and that's okay.
And it was the best spell possible
The
that
best
she
spell
could have put on
possible.
everyone in that room.
It was really, really fantastic. I really appreciated just getting to know everybody on a different level.
Right.
And
And
some
you knew a lot of the people in there, and I walked in and I didn't know a single person. And, I've heard the names of certain people or, who they work for as
Mhm.
well. But, going into a room and sitting at a table with, again, no one that you know
Yeah.
is kind of frightening. But at the same time, I left that first day of Project Lead with an open heart, just relieved, like, wow, this was the right decision.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. I believe in United Way because I was involved with United Way before I started working here. And so to hear other people understand the mission of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to improve our community is so amazing. It just kind of fills a little fire, it makes me want to get out there and just tell everybody about United Way Emerald Coast. And we're so thankful to have you and, have you on our team.
Of course.
Because, I mean, you're going to be around after Project Lead. I mean, who knows? There may be a spot that opens up on our board for you to do that.
Absolutely, you never
Yeah,
know.
it's
And
true.
and just getting to know the United Way,
Mhm.
staff that's there just assisting, and that's also, like yourself, that's a part of Project Lead, has
Mhm.
been awesome, and getting to know their backgrounds and who they are, where they came from, and why they're working for United Way, I think
Mhm.
is really cool.
That's so great to hear. We're talking about Project Lead, but we haven't told anybody what Project Lead is. So, Project Lead is a class that United Way Emerald Coast hosts, and it teaches our community members, especially the leaders in our community, how to serve for the board for a nonprofit. And so, we have classes on financials, communication, leadership. I'm sure that I'm missing a few. I know we had one on time management, and I got a lot of looks during that one. So,
That one was an eye opener, I think, for everyone.
it really was. But so we have those, it's a 5-month course. And so we actually have class coming up in 2 days. So this is 2 weeks in a row that I get to see Sean twice.
And I'm excited for that one because I think it's all the
It
financials.
is.
We kind of
It
dabbled
is.
in it a little bit, I think, here
Hmm.
and there, but I
Hmm.
think this will be a nice, like, intensive for it.
And our speaker is a really good one.
I don't know who it is. I'm
It's Kelly
excited.
Jason, President and CEO
Oh,
of United Way Emerald
can't
Coast.
get any better than Kelly.
I know. I try to tell her that too, and she's just go do work, Deborah.
We love Kelly.
Yes, yes, we do very much. And so, all right. So tell me what your biggest takeaway has been from Project Lead.
I think my biggest takeaway from Project Lead is, being on a nonprofit board is not just filling the seat position. It's really making sure that, everything you're doing within that nonprofit is aligning with everyone else on that board, whether it's the mission statement, financials, just collaborating in general. Like, you really have to align, because I think a lot of people, come from different positions that are
Mhm.
usually higher up in their organizations or companies, or their CEOs, owners of the company.
Mhm.
And to make sure that everyone kind of all aligns is not easy.
Right.
And I think that being reinforced throughout Project Lead, has really been a nice takeaway.
Awesome. I know you're going to be a great board member. Has being in Project Lead changed how you operate your business?
It has. From, I think, just the way I handle clients and different vendors and contractors, to, again, time management.
Mhm.
But also, I think it's really important the way I organize, my business with involvement in the community as well. So making sure that aligns, who I'm working with in the nonprofit world, or just giving back in general.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, Sean, I'm thinking about doing something, I'm thinking about doing project lead class 3, or I've found another class that's kind of like that," what would you tell them?
I think they need to lean in,
Mhm.
go in with an open mind, but also it's really important that you participate and be active and involve yourself and kind of be vulnerable, regardless of what aspect that may be, because without, being vulnerable and participating, um, you really can't grow. And I think by, doing that, you will get the growth that you probably didn't even imagine you would get, which is currently where I'm at. And I know several other of our classmates are as well.
Absolutely. And I tell, as you mentioned, I know a lot of people in that class. And so I tell them, if I'm not vulnerable, if I'm not allowing myself the opportunity to be vulnerable in that class, why would anybody else? And as you mentioned, yes, that's how you grow, is when you open yourself up and you allow yourself to be vulnerable. So yeah, I agree. And that's really good advice. I also appreciate leaning into it, because that's
Definitely.
what you put in is what you get. And it's not just project lead, that's life in general. So we're
Right.
really glad to hear that too. I think that that's some solid advice, Sean. You're doing
Thank
great.
you.
Sean's going to start a podcast next.
No.
That's his next business venture.
Trying to like manage my business, social media, project lead, it's a lot. So,
I'm sure of that, not to mention all of the things that you do with the young professionals in the Walton area chamber. Every time I go
of
somewhere
course.
for the chamber, I see you there. So
Yes. Yes. But never say never.
no,
So,
exactly. So if you could describe project lead in just 3 words, what would they be?
it's a tough one
I know.
because there's so many words and amazing things that I think project lead is. I would probably say empowering, insightful, unexpected.
Amazing. I totally agree.
I think those 3 words really kinda summarize what project lead is, and my expectations coming in, I didn't know what to expect, and
Mhm.
had someone told me just those 3 words, I think that would've sealed the deal for me.
For sure. And it is truly it is a transformative experience. I'm going through that class with you for the very first time, and even though I'm part of the nonprofit world, I'm still kind of new to it, but taking this course and learning the things that I'm learning and meeting the people that I'm meeting and just seeing how that journey is taking us, I think that those are 3 really good words. And I think they live up to the hype of Project Lead.
Absolutely.
So our goal is for Project Lead to continue to live up to the
Yes,
hype.
yes. I think it can only get better, to be honest.
Perfect. So we'll bring you back for class 3. We'll make you lead a session, do an icebreaker,
Hey,
something like that.
I'd love to.
Oh, you'd be so good at it. So I think we've got time for one more question.
Sure.
So have there been any like challenges or any moments that kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone, other than that first class where you didn't know anybody and left with like 5 friends?
I'd
Because I know you
say
left with 5 friends that day.
I did. No, I left, I think, with the whole class as my friend.
Yeah.
And then coming back, the next session and people that I didn't even meet that knew my name and knew what I did and they were actually listening was, I think, a really cool feeling.
Hmm.
But no, I think that, again, just opening up and it's every single class,
Hmm.
whether we're vocal about it or whether we're just sitting there and we're listening and observing, it makes you think. And I think that can kind of be a struggle sometimes. We all want to believe we're amazing at what we do, or we're doing the best that we can. But I think there's always, again, room for growth and improvement. So learning to just kind of be vulnerable each class and open and, take everything that someone says and apply it to not just myself, but others, whether it's, in my business, a contractor or a vendor that I'm ordering from, and, time management, budgets,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So I think that's kind of been a little bit of a challenge, but again, it's probably a blessing in disguise challenge.
For sure. Growth is not easy.
No,
It is one of those things where it's uncomfortable and it is a challenge and it's difficult. But that's where you progress, you grow. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to growing with you. I know that we've only just met, but like I told you, we're friends. You're my friend. You're stuck. I'm sorry. But I just can't wait to see what you do in the future and what we do together. I know
Absolutely.
we're going to do so much good in not just in United Way, but also in our community. So
Absolutely. I
I'm
think that's a really cool opportunity that we've been blessed with.
absolutely, absolutely. And I know that you don't handle it lightly, nor do I. So we're so thankful for you. We wouldn't be able to do nearly half as much if we didn't have people like you on our team that were just there for us and supporting us. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being in Project Lead and just diving right in. And we'll wrap it up with that. So thank you, Sean.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me. And for anyone that's thinking about joining Project Lead, I highly recommend you do so.